So I want to preface today by saying this is my first ever panel I've ever done. So we're gonna, see how this goes. I'm just happy that there's a crowd here. And step right up, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and that technicolor rainbow in between. My name is Daniel, and today this is the Music Anime Variety Hour! So, you might be asking yourself, what the heck did you just walk into? This is just to be a rundown of various music anime that I've been binging over the past couple of months. I define music anime by any anime with an emphasis on music or musical themes. Subgenres of this include idol anime, like Love Live Over Here, or genre-specific stuff, like rock, classical, or hip-hop. For example, you've got Euphonium, which is based around concert band, and Detroit Metal City. Take a guess what that's about. I've got over 20 anime I'm going to be showing today, all the varying genres, approaches to music, and I'll let it speak for itself. Let's begin. Let's start with probably one of, if not the most popular music anime, K-On! A classic story, a ditzy girl joins her school's light music club and formed the band Hokkaido Tea Time, who spend their days making music and eating sweets. K-On! Is literally a play on words of the Japanese term K-On!, which literally means light music. So it's definitively the light music anime. And not only that, it's pretty much the Mount Rushmore of slice of life. Everyone that's watched this anime, more than anything, can tell you it is a cute girls and cute things affair. And let me be frank, it does that super well. It's so cute, guys. But to be fair, there's a lot of simple stuff that it goes about. Like, it's how I look. Not Benjamin, but K-On! Is how I learned about what beauty was. Like, a lot of simple, basic stuff is introduced to a lot of people that may not know anything about bands or rock and roll. It's brought to the forefront and got a lot of people into rock and roll as a result. Now, Hokkaido Tea Time as a band blends rock and roll, power pop, pop punk, hard rock, and glam rock to really create a sound that's all their own. It's very K-On! You can't really compare it to a lot of the other contemporaries of J-rock and sort of like multimedia stuff, because it is really a sound all its own. But if you want something more than K-On!, might I suggest Bang Dream. So, Bang Dream pretty much follows the story of the girl band Pop Party and the girl bands that surround them. I personally have a bias when it comes to this show because this has been a hyperfixation for me for almost half a decade. I still don't remember how it happened. It was just like I looked up Rhythm Game on the Apple Store in like 2017, and this was it. I was forced into it pretty much. I will never admit, even though it says I admit it, I don't admit that it's pretty mediocre, especially the first season. The first season was kind of supposed to be the saving grace of the Bang Dream franchise back in 2017. It was not. What was the saving grace of Bang Dream was the mobile game that released later in that 2017. That really kicked off Bang Dream and allowed for a second season to air, which was an improvement, and then for season 3 to really step it up, and the OVAs and the movies that were honestly up on time. Yes. Oh god, the English dub is not good. It is not. I mean, that's all I have to say. It's not good. But more than any other series, season, or film that Bang Dream's put out, there's one for me that stands up above the rest, and that is Bang Dream It's My Go, which literally just aired last season. It's about a socially anxious girl meeting a peppy new girl aiming for popularity some way, somehow, who helps her reconnect with her former bandmates and form a new band. There's a general feeling with all 5 girls in this band about being lost in some way. They all have to find a way to cope about that. And it's a direction that a lot of the other Bang Dream bands don't really go into, so they stick out in a very unique way because of it. But what really sticks out about My Go is the lyrics from the main girl, Tomori. Tomori is my favorite Bang Dream girl, and she just stole that spot. She stole my heart. She needs a hug more than anything. That's her, by the way. But her whole story is that she started writing lyrics in the form of poetry to talk about how alone and down she felt. And that turned into writing lyrics for a band. And throughout her story, she connects with her own lyrics as a way to say, hey, I don't know any other way to describe how I feel to the world. This is all I've got. And that connection as a lyricist is fantastic. And the way it culminates in the last couple episodes, tears. The best Bang Dream season by far. But say you don't want Bang Dream and you want something else from Kyoto Animation. Well, look no further than Sound Euphonium. Sound Euphonium is about a euphonium player on their way to quitting, getting sucked in to join their high school concert band as they aim for nationals. And this sounds kind of abrupt because it is. They get a new advisor for their band, and he's like, okay, what do you guys actually want to do? And they vote, they're like, nationals? All right. They were not good enough to get nationals up to this point, so there's a lot of rigorous training for them to become better musicians. And that's generally the theme of Sound Euphonium, is this idea of improvement and growth for all the characters, having to figure out, okay, now that I'm here, how am I going to actually get to the top like we as a band want to do? That's especially prevalent in the main character, Kumiko. Kumiko is a very soft-spoken character. She's generally very kind of out of the way, does her own thing. But as the other characters press her to be better, she has to come to terms with how is she going to improve. And it makes her take more responsibility than she's ever had to. And there's also a lot of particular about the details of concert band, which is a lot of fun. I can't particularly say anything about it, since I was never in band in high school. A lot of people that have been able to vouch for that. And also the generational impact of music from a parent-child and siblings, and really what it means for one to play. Because Kumiko especially has to come to terms with that question, because for characters like Reina, she already knows. She wants to be special. She wants to be the best trumpeter that she can be. But for every character, they need to figure this out. And the answer is going to lie in how they choose to play, and really the way their sound comes out is the answer to that question. But you can't really talk about Sound Euphonium without talking about the standalone film, which has become one of my favorites, Listen to Bluebird. Listen to Bluebird is about two third-year friends within the Kitauchi High School concert band who are assigned to perform a duet in the next piece that they're going to be performing with the high school year, while battling with their deteriorating relationship. It's paired with the fairy tale of the same name, not just in the actual piece throughout the film, Listen to Bluebird, but it's also retelling of Listen to Bluebird within the film. So you get that kind of story within a story thing going on. And the relationship really does impact the way they play. It's for Mizue, which is the Oloist on the right, it is a matter of she doesn't want to feel like that Nozomi, the flute, is falling behind. She wants to be with her, even though they know they're not good for each other. And Nozomi is feeling like she has to always be catching up to Mizue. So they're not really doing any good toward each other. And that's also a central theme of Listen to Bluebird, is that Liz and the Bluebird aren't good for each other, but they love each other's company. So they're going to have to make amends on that somehow. It's also got Naoki Yamada and Ketsuki Yoshio directing and doing the soundtrack. This is the pair that's also done Asylum Boys, my favorite movie of all time. Thank you very much. And so for that alone, the way they approach this, I gotta give it a shot. Beck Mongolian Chop Squad, otherwise known as Mongolian Chop Squad, otherwise known as Beck. A jaded middle school boy finds a teen rocker that teaches him the way of the rock as the two form a band to show Japan how rock is done. I know it sounds weird, but that's kind of how Ryusuke right here kind of puts it. They want to show Japan what it really means to rock, and not anything that's mainstream. It's an emphasis on Western rock, and the best way to describe that is that typically Japanese rock, especially now, has a lot faster of a tempo, a lot faster of BPM. It's going a lot quicker. Western rock in comparison is a lot slower. That's one of the more like apple comparisons. I mean, save for the song I selected here, that's one of the few exceptions. But rock and roll history figures are prevalent. There's a point in the show where they're talking about bands from the 60s, and they completely make up a band to just lump in with the Beatles and the Monkees. That just fits because they're able to outline the style of the time and kind of teach people about what rock back then was like. And also, there's a dream sequence where they have like John Lennon and a bunch of other people, and the influence from these people on our characters are prevalent. The spirit of rock and roll is present in all of the characters throughout their arcs, particularly Koyuki, who through rock and roll feels like that he's got something to lose, and he becomes more attached to life and the things he does than he ever has before. It's because of the way of the rock. But Daniel, I hear you crying. I don't want Western rock. I want the traditional Japanese stuff. Well, here you go. Kono Ototore sounds alike. So, a dying high school Koto club is brought back to life and brought to greater heights by its sole surviving member, a delinquent, a Koto prodigy, and the rest of the gang. It's all about the Koto in a wealth of detail. And I don't know about you, I never heard of what a Koto was before watching this show. So I learned so much about the basics, like for example, the Koto is designed to look like a dragon. And one of the songs that's playing in the background right now, Ryuseiken, is written and to be performed like the crying of a dragon. It's very interesting how that goes. Everything, like the history of the Koto, and like I said, the intricacies of how Koto music is composed and how it can be performed. It explores both individual aspirations and the beauty of developing the sound within a group. Every character, one way or another, has their own sort of baggage as they're trying to figure out their own sound. And the way they develop their play as a result is standalone to them. And not even to mention the developing the sound within a group. Because some people will have one member, one Koto player being the standout. Others will try and play in harmony and synchronization to form a rich sound. Or some, like the Koto Club here, will use all the parts and the free flow flexibility that Koto play has to offer to really make a sound that's wholly unique to the Koto. And Nana! Yeah, go ahead. Nana. So, fun fact, I binged Nana like all this past week, and God, this is not a big show. There's a lot that goes on. So, two 20-somethings, coincidentally both named Nana, meet on a train to Tokyo to start new lives, coincidentally are in the same apartment. It's got this punk rock angle, not just in the fact that, okay, before I start, this is Nana, this is Hachi, let's get that out of the way. So, Nana is in a punk band, and her boyfriend is also in a punk band. So they follow the stories of their two punk bands closely, especially near the end. And there's a moment that really stands out about the emotion behind punk rock. Because if there's anything that big mass media and entertainment tries to show and stereotype, is that punk rockers and people that like punk have a lot of baggage. And that is exemplified in Nana. Not only within the fans, but also with Achi when she's down and feeling very in a slump. When she hears Nana's band's performance, she gets that epiphany of, wow, I feel like that her lyrics and the sound are speaking to me. And that's the power of punk rock for people that are dealing with that sort of thing. May I not also mention that this is a romance, but it was also a scandalous romance. With the theme of how punk rockers are portrayed, every character in this show, or at least most characters, make very, very bad decisions. And they go one after another, and even though I can't talk about the nature of some of those, I will leave you with, there's a lawyer in the group, and I don't know why he's not taking any legal action, or no one's going in for a legal consultation. I can tell you how the anime ends, but at the same time, it's kind of relatively invalid because the manga is still on a hiatus. You won't know because the manga has had an illness for almost a decade, and there's been rumblings about her coming back to finish the manga, but for now, only that was a question mark. Y'all know what I was going to talk about this. Early April follows a middle school pianist meeting a violinist with spunk, who helps him deal with his trauma and rekindle his fire for music. The dynamic between the two leads here is on full display. You've got Kari, the violinist, which is just so passionate about what she does and provides a sound really all her own with an emphasis on emotion. In contrast with Kosei, the pianist, which his claim to fame was all about playing the piece from the sheet to a T. And that's why everyone hated him, because they called him a robot as a result. Two completely contrasting styles, but when Kosei is left with trying to deal with his own trauma from the passing of his mother. He needs to find a way to get back from that. And Carly's perspective helps with that. And through the story, he finds a way to bring emotion into his sound and realize things about himself he would have never realized otherwise. And like I said, there's a focus on the musicians trying to find their own sound. And even though they all play classical music, there is an emphasis on how they play and why they play that instrument. Everything you've heard about Your Line Ain't being tragic is true, but I will argue that it is a very beautiful show with the emotion of it being a very present part of it. I felt really just fulfilled, and a new feeling came in when I finished this show. Fortunately, it doesn't look like I've got any other emotionally heavy shows based on music. Oh no! God, it's given! A talented young guitarist comes across an aloof guy with an intrigue for music and a gorgeous voice. He's invited to the guitarist band and learns to be a guitarist/singer in the process. More so than your life. Well, I guess in both similar ways. Given deals with themes of trauma and loss, especially with my boy Matthew over here, which I did not give a break. I was giving a dookie on him in the first couple episodes until I learned about the baggage about him. And I was like, bro, you need a hug. At the end of the day, I just want all of these boys to be happy. Like, they're both dealing with like trauma and suffering all in their own way. And what makes Given unique is about how they come together and the music they make is directly sort of a coping mechanism for them. And being able to recover and find a way to lay down their burdens and move on, especially for Matthew in the main season. For Akihiko and Haruki, that's the movie. And again, just watching that, I just wanted them to be happy. But to kind of up the mood a little bit, Zombieland Saga! Zombieland Saga follows a wannabe idol that gets hit by a truck and is brought back to life as a zombie alongside 6 other legendary girls to save the Saga Prefecture as the idol group Ranshushu. This show is so much fun, but first and foremost, it is a critique on what it means to be an idol, because remember, they're all zombies. They did not ask to be part of this. When they asked their manager, Coach Ro, why are we even doing this in the first place? Coach Ro pretty much answers, that's a good question. I didn't ask. People that have watched that show knows what Coach Ro is about, and he just steals the show. I don't have a picture of him up on here for some reason. That's my view. But in the same way that he's just Coach Ro's a riot, he's able to spend time with the girls and also kind of give his own expertise and enlightenment on idols being something that people look to for motivation, inspiration, and just feel good stuff. And that's what Front Shoot attempts to be. It's also in tune with the Saga Prefecture as a place. We go around Saga. There's even an episode where they go to a chicken place and they got the owner of the place to voice act as himself. It's so fun. And Front Street just has a variety of sounds in their discography. Still in the same vein as idols, we got Vivi, Fluorite Eye's son. An AI idol meets an AI from the future, and the two end up on a 100-year mission to keep humanity from being eradicated at the hands of an AI. This is essentially Terminator 2, except it's starring Hatsune Miku Weekly. Oh my god, this story is insane. Where they go, this is what studio. They know how to make an action. They know how to make an action show.
And the ReZero author.
It is a ReZero author, that's right. But for Wit Studio, they know how to animate that stuff. Oh my gosh, the sequences, it's just hardcore in your face bursts of action, and the moment you feel like that you're letting go, they pull you back in with something else that's insane. The humanity of music is also a big deal, especially considering that the main character is a robot. Throughout the story, Vivi is always questioning, why do people care about my songs so much? Why is this a thing that matters to people? And her questions are answered throughout the series, and she finds purpose in not only protecting Earth, but protecting it also for the future of her being a performer. Vivi Fluorite Eye's song, Golden Collection Sing Through Your Smile, also has a gorgeous array of quality tracks. But before there was Vivi, there was Heave the Metal Idol. Heave the Metal Idol is about a robot girl whose grandfather/creator dies, and in his dying words, he tells her that you have to go find 300,000 friends or you will die too. Yeah, this is a show that, honestly, is really way more about it being a mecha, and there's not really a lot of stuff about idols or music at all, and I don't really have anything to say about it. You guys wouldn't believe this, but Garrett of all people duped me into watching a mecha. The nerve of him. But this kind of brings up a point that's not exclusive to Key because it manifests in different ways. Which brings me to the idol rings. As you can probably tell, I haven't talked a lot about an idol in this panel, and that's because I just really don't think a lot of it fits, because for idols, it is a lot about performance and the art of performance. While that's awesome, it's different it's not one and the same with the arts of music. Performance can be a lot of different things. For a lot of this, it is musical performance, but a lot of it is training and performance and trying to build and grow an audience. And there's a lot of idol anime that just focus on that, and if I focused a lot on that, that would have been redundant. But there are times where they take this perspective and look at it and do the play. Most notably in Oshi no Ko. Oshi no Ko is about a famous idol juggling her private life of raising twin children while navigating the cutthroat entertainment industry as her children follow in her footsteps. What I love about this and the author Aka Akasaka is that they are honest about the brutality of show business. It's a crash course of what goes on about idols behind the scenes. And not in a sort of like super expose kind of way, it's just honest. There's a lot, it kind of feels like you're getting a little bit of everything about how everything works. And that's really cool. And because of the nature of the show, it's more like it's good to have that sort of knowledge, especially when you're not really getting it all the time. More than just idols, it does more than just idols, but it does the idol stuff so well and tandem with everything else. Actually, my favorite stuff in the show is the idol stuff. Also, ya boy Kongming! Zhuge Liang, courtesy named Kongming, a Chinese tactician from the Three Kingdoms era, dies and wakes up in modern-day Shibuya and meets an EDM singer who swears to help see your dreams of starting through. Kongming is the man. He does not question at all why he is woken up in Japan. He doesn't even know why he can speak perfect Japanese. He's asked about it, but he's just like, But he finds an opportunity to, he builds a desire to help Eiko here want to become a pop star and see her dreams come true. Yes?
So last year, they were showing kids later on in the trip, and I walked in on like the first second episode, and I'm like, what is going on?
That's the show. And Kongming doesn't care. Kongming's just having a good time. It embraces the hip hop genre because there's a lot with EDM and hip hop. Hip hop is a whole rapping is just a whole sub-focus on this show. Kongming enters a rap battle, for goodness sake. He'll do anything, it doesn't matter. But more than that, it shines a light on the battle between indie artists and the big boys. For all intents and purposes, Kongming and Eiko are indie artists, and that shows in the fact that they're hungry. They want to reach the top, and they'll do everything they can to get there. Whereas they meet like big boys, like big groups that have already made it, and that passion isn't super present as it is for them. It's a very unique dynamic, especially when they've explored further later in the show. Speaking of hip hop, Hypnosis Mike! I'm gonna be honest, way more people knew about the show than I did, because I just found out about it like 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Hypnosis Mike. Women took over the government, and they emphasized that it is women, and made hypnosis microphones the only weapons available. Crews form and division rap battles go down. What's a hypnosis microphone? A hypnosis microphone is basically this, but when you rap into it, your words become weaponry based on how good your rapping skills are. That is a super awesome concept. It's pretty much like that one episode of Regular Show where cops in a rap battle and their words become weapons. This is basically that concept made into a whole show. I don't know why this took so long to happen. It's one of the most chaotic stories I've ever seen because it felt like a blur when I was watching it. Like, everything happens, and it's not even, I remember more what crap they're put through in the show more than the actual characters, which is an issue I have with the show. But the songs are super fun, the production value, give that production crew my regards, man. And the visuals are fun too. A1 Pictures is on this, and they do a lot with just with graphics and animation and aesthetic. Even though the characters are boring, their aesthetic is unique and so much fun. Troy Middle City, DMC. An aspiring light music singer-songwriter moves from the countryside to Tokyo in order to search for fame, only to get sucked into a hardcore metal band. I feel bad for this guy, but this guy pretty much just has a split personality disorder. One moment he's just gonna be like, oh, I don't like this, I don't want to do this anymore, what even went wrong? Hey Krauser, you're up! It's a parody on metal and metal culture. Like, look at this guy. This is just straight taken from Kiss. It is also metal at its most crass, rude, inappropriate. I cannot speak on a lot of the things that happen in the show. It's so over the top, but there's some wholesome things about it too. Like, there's literally a metal couple that takes their child to the show, and she's so sweet. And then she says something hilariously vulgar. It's chaotic. And I wish I could talk more about it, but it really just has to be seen for people to leave, even if I could say more about it. But let's take a little second to reprieve and talk about somebody that I really respect. Junichiro Watanabe. He's known for having a distinct style in the anime industry with an emphasis on music. And he's really the only guy that consistently pushes the envelope in this way. He directed Cowboy Bebop, Samurai Champloo, and Space Dandy, to name a few. Cowboy Bebop was known for using 40s jazz and blues to set the energy. Samurai Champloo just juxtaposes an anarchist Edo with the hip-hop track. Space Dandy is a wacky mixed bag of ideas, backed by jazz and new wave. It's a situation where his stuff is intertwined with music as a concept. More than anything, it's very nuanced in how it's done. And that's very cool. But that idea is also implemented in two outright music anime he's done. The first one being Kids on the Slope. Kids on the Slope follows an uptight pianist meeting a jazz drummer that invites him to learn the art of jazz and jams together. This is a show that is literally all about jazz. Every episode is named after a jazz track. The characters are motivated by feeling like jazz, and unlike a lot of the other shows that Watanabe has done, where the premise and setting is so out there, Kids on the Slope is so reined in. It feels like something that Watanabe hasn't even done. But he compensates for that by making this a very character-driven story, but there's not really anything else moving the plot forward. Their emotions really do make the story flow, and they make that a point. And it makes you kind of fall in love with the characters, knowing that they're just kind of doing what feels best for them. It's fun to just watch jazz be a part of their lives and their relationships as a result. And he's also done Carolyn Tuesday. A part-timer trying to make ends meet and a rich girl looking for a life on her own meet in the big city on Mars and form a singer-songwriting duo. It goes toe-to-toe with questions regarding artificial intelligence, which I originally drafted this up in 2020, in the beginning of February, before a lot of the writer's strike stuff was going on. So what I was able to kind of reflect on this is that, yeah, that's an even bigger question now than it was at the beginning of the year. And how that plays with Carol and Tuesday is that in this world, in this future, Carol and Tuesday are some of the only artists that compose their own stuff. They don't have any AI influence, in contrast to pretty much every other artist on Mars. And their own spunk sets them apart, and it gets people to root for them. And with that soul of music, not only are other people able to appreciate that, it grows the bond that Carol and Tuesday are able to develop, and also the crew that they work with. And also just a wide range of genres and sounds as well. It feels like an anime that Watanabe was destined to make. But in the same vein of music being a stylistic choice, you've got Fully Cooley. Fully Cooley. A young boy's life is flipped turned upside down by an alien that bonks him in the head with a bass guitar, and his life becomes a mech from that. I tried finding another way to explain how this anime operates. That's the best I got for you. But the soundtrack by the Pillows is a core part of Fully Cooley. Their sound is marked by the sound of Seattle, like grunge sort of stuff, and also just Western rock at the time. And that general theming goes so far into what Fully Cooley is all about. It is a coming-of-age story. And with that sound that is very reminiscent of songs that talk about, the confusion of life and trying to just be a guy, that's very characteristic of Nyota's story, where he doesn't really care about anything that's going in his life, but when he meets Haruko, his life changes and he finds something worth really getting invested in. And I can say again, the music of the Pillows is immaculate. It's in every corner of the show, and it adds a layer of personality to the show that a lot of shows don't really have. One Piece Film Red. This might be one of the other most popular stuff that I'm going to talk about today. The Diva Uta traps the Straw Hats and the rest of the world in her idle dimension. This makes more sense in context. It's a battle shonen musical, which are 3 words I never imagined would go together, but they work so well. It's an unexpected mashup of sounds that's performed by Otto, an absolute queen. I love her voice so much, and she really carries a lot of emotion in that performance, which is integral to Uta's character. Those songs are in the entire album. And you've got people like Mrs. Green Apple that did the Fire Force opening on I'm Invincible. Bondi, who did the Chainsaw Blood in the second Ranking Kings opening on Backline. And if you listen to this right now, this does have a lot of Bondi flair to it. And Hiroyuki Sawano that did the Attack on Titan soundtrack on Top Musica. It's got the best and brightest of Japan's music scene right now working on it, and seeing it all coming together is immaculate. Last, but certainly not least, my favorite music anime, and it's been years since it came out. I think it's fair to really just call it right now. It's Bocchi the Rock. Bocchi the Rock, man! A socially anxious introvert incidentally joins a band with 3 other girls who attempted to achieve stardom together as Kesuka Band. I love all 4 of these girls in this show. You've got red-haired Kita, who's all about being a peppy expert, trying to figure out how to actually play guitar and be in a band. She feels like she would be the main character. You got Ichigo, the yellow hair, that's really about being the leader of the band, having her own enthusiasm. Blue hair, Rio, being sort of the loner and providing her own perspective and outlook on the band. And then Tokigoto, Bocchi, pink hair. A lot of people have said this, myself included. Bocchi is a very relatable character, even though she is a caricature of anxiety and a lot of it played for laughs, a lot of it's still very relatable. And every step that she makes to become better is another reason to root for her as she tries to reach her own goals. It goes all in with rock and roll, but not just any rock and roll, with Japanese rock specifically. I love that they go this route because you get a lot of Easter eggs of Japanese bands, especially with the fact that Asian Kung Fu Generation is a key inspiration to Bocchi's existence. And that kind of comes through in Bocchi's sound. There's even a cover of one of Asian Kung Fu Generation's songs near the end of the show. Please listen to the Kesuka Band album that released, on top of the single that released over the summer, immaculate stuff. With that, it's just passionately inspired with Japanese rock in the scene. This is a show about them going through the rock scene, not trying to play on stage at the music festival, even though it is a part of it. The bulk of the show is about playing in clubs, getting invested in that scene and all of that it entails. That perspective is only unique to Bocchi. It's why I love it so much. But what's more important in stuff like this? How it looks, how it's written, or how it sounds? I think we know the answer to that question. So we are going to snake back to the beginning of this, from the end to the beginning, and talk about the sounds real quick. Bocchi the Rock. Like I said, this is all about Japanese rock, especially Asian Kung Fu Generation. It's a unique sound. It's a unique sound to Japan, and I love that it's there. One Piece Go Red, like I said, best and brightest of Japan. It is pop, it's mostly pop music, but the fact you've got a lot of these unique sounds makes it stand out. Fully Cooley, The Pillows, you got an alternative rock thing going. Heroin Tuesday, admittedly, it's a lot of pop, but it's the range of that pop is what's fantastic about it. Kids on the Slope, jazz. It's intertwined with the history of jazz, and that's what they do. And Yoko Kanno, even making a lot of these historical jazz tracks her own. Troy Metal City, metal at its most lewd and inappropriate. Hypnosis Mike, rap and hip hop, but with a unique flair. The production of the tracks feel a lot more vibrant than you think. Your boy Kongmin, particularly with EDM. Aiko's whole thing is that she's an EDM singer, and that's what a lot of tracks kind of flow into beat. Oshinoko, idol music. I know I didn't really have anything to say about heavy metal idol, but there are a lot of tracks that revolve around city pop, which is a genre that I absolutely adore. City pop has a very slower sound, airy vocals. It feels like an ethereal thing, and I wish you did more with it, Garrett! For iSong, I don't really know how to describe sound. It kind of feels like the soundtrack of like a sci-fi dystopian thing made into like with a mix of J-pop. Zombieland Saga, you got J-pop idol stuff, but the sound is surprisingly more varied than you think. You've got a metal track, you've got something that's more hip-hop, and you've also got something that's more swing. Whatever you want, you'd be surprised to see that Zombieland Saga might happen. Given the brand of rock that they have, it's kind of hard to describe, but it definitely feels like there's a lot of emotion in it with the themes that their songs explore. Your Land April, it's less about the classical music that they use and how the classical music is used, if that makes any sense. That, like I said, with how emotion is put into a piece is paramount in a show like this. Now, punk music. Kono Totomure. Again, it's about the koto. The koto being a unique instrument with its own history, and he wanting that more than anything. Fantastic. Then, Western rock. Really a brand similarly to the Pillows of early 2000s and 90s rock. It's got that stamped sound to it. Sound euphonium. Concert bands. So you've got a lot of woodwinds, a lot of brass instruments. That's the bulk of their sound. And it's lovely to hear. Listen to Bluebird focuses more on the oboe and the flute because the movement of Listen to Bluebird they focus on is a duet between the flute and the oboe. And it's a beautiful piece. Daydream has its own sound to it. It's like a multimedia sound, but every character has their own sort of flair to it. Might go more so with an emphasis on lyrics, being more emotional lyrics and more reaching out and expressive lyrics that a lot of other bands do. And Chaos, like I said, a lot of different forms of rock and roll all melding together to be its own thing. So that's what it looks like. I'm going to take some water for a second. What I'm going to do now is kind of talk about how themes of the show crop up. I've been able to kind of categorize a few, and even though it's kind of hard since they all do at least a couple of these in its own way, this is kind of a good rough idea of how themes are used in the shows. That's good water. Music genre defines how some of these anime operate. Most notably with Detroit Metal City. It's all about metal and kind of looking at that whole scene in a very over-exaggerated way. Somewhat in a similar way with Beck and how being a rocker is what the main character strives to be. Ochi, again, does that too, but just with the Japanese rock scene. And in a different way, hip-hop being the core identity of Hypnosis Mike really does just kind of... Sorry, there's another sip of water. What Hypnosis Mike provides is a unique flair of hip-hop, and that being the bonds that connect people together. And not just being all about punk and how the characters operate. again, they're all characters that make stupid decisions, and I feel bad for them. I want to give them up. The sound of progress. How musicians improve furthers along the story and the character's development. It's very evident in these shows that are more like unique in their music and the idol stuff. Sounding Volume, that's literally all it's about. How their sound changes to something that's more scuffed, to something that's more refined. And the process of getting the point A to point B is pretty much all it's about. And similar thing with Konohoto Tombre, except more than just playing a piece, it's about really making your own with Konohoto Tombre. And every player in Konohoto Tombre has something that they want to share and express through the cartoon, and that is given enough attention. I can say the same thing for both of these shows. They're all about just training as an idol and going from not able to be one to an idol that people are able to root for. Music can connect ourselves with the people around us. This is most evident in K-On! Because a lot of K-On! Is devoted to the relationships between the 5 girls, really more than the actual music. And those bonds are super fun to see. And even though music isn't always the focus, it's not lost on them. And that's also a thing with Bang Dream, because Bang Dream takes a lot from K-On! Bang Dream, yeah. And then Listen to Bluebird is kind of the antithesis of that. Listen to Bluebird really talks about the strength of a relationship. And the fact that these two are trying to perform a duo together forces them to come to terms with the nature of their relationship. Fully Gully isn't exactly a music anime, as I've talked about, but it does talk. But Naoto's story is about really connecting with people through the portion of this short series and the emotions that he never really felt beforehand as a result. Lyrics provide an extra layer of depth of musical work. This isn't something that's super harped on a lot of these shows, but it really isn't my go-and given. But Given first. Given, like I said, is a story where Mafu is just really going through a lot. And he's put in a situation where he needs to make peace with what's been hurting him. And his performance near the end of this show does that. But that would not be possible without the lyrics that Uenoiba, who I haven't talked about a lot, the lyrics he wrote, and how Mafu performs them. It all kind of gel. It is a performance, but if the lyrics weren't there, that performance wouldn't be there. And then Tomurlay's whole thing is just being a lyricist, and that being a way that she expressed her feelings and her emotions. And I just love that exists. How music makes us feel and how feeling is conveyed is a big part of what makes music so unique. I've harped enough about Your Line April, but it really is important to that show because I'm not sure, I mean, even I wouldn't have cared that much about Love and House they're talking about, but how each person approaches a piece and their motives for doing so, big factor of this show. And I can't stress that enough. One Piece Film Red is really centered around Uta and her own feelings of things that she needs to get over. But not just that. A lot of characters emphasize that she has the voice and the presence to really do good. And how she uses that and how she can make people feel through that is something she needs to be responsible about. Carolyn Tuesday, because everyone uses ChatGPT to do their music, and they don't, they're a standout, and they make people feel stuff through the music that no one else can really do. Vivi, with AI being a thing, but more so just Vivi herself. Her having to come to terms with the soul of music that she can't really comprehend, and her comprehending that is sort of where her art goes. And jazz by nature is just all about this feeling of the music and how someone plays something very widely depending on emotion. So, this whole thing today has been just it's been a crazy experience just watching through all these. But my final point and theme is why music really matters, is that music is a one-of-a-kind art form that that through sounds, notes, chords, progressions, lyrics, everything that you can muster up, beats, bass lines, melodies, all that comes together to paint a picture that is so powerful. In film, people don't use music unless it's absolutely necessary. It's that powerful. And the fact that everyone here probably has a music piece that they really connect with, and that they can say for a fact is just resonates with them so hard. And that's why I say with this panel and these anime, this is not something that is dedicated to one show or another. This is something that's prevalent in every single anime. In every single one of these anime, we get why these people do music. We get being the figure that is beyond larger than life, and what that does to people, both good and bad. We get the connections that only music can do, and how people are brought together as a result. We get how genre can make people feel things they would not imagine. What people can become as a result, and what they need to become. What heights they can reach as a result. And more than that, it's about connecting with people. It's about loving, the loss of that love, and the miracle of being able to love again. The bonds that we're able to experience, and the meaning that is expressed, and we can feel in our souls that is something that is deeply human, and something that no other art form can really do in its own right. And as I talk about all this, I truly want this to be the sticking point. And if there's anything I want you guys to learn from this panel, it's why music matters. So what should you be watching for this season? You've got Blue Giant, a jazz anime, a jazz movie that I'm dying to watch. I don't really know what it's on yet, so I'm gonna figure it out. Hypnosis Mike Season 2, which is more of the same. Cowboy Boy Sing, which has a new perspective of a voice chorus, which seems like that's gonna be a lot of fun. Paradox Live is more sort of like hip-hop. I'm not really sure a lot about it. And hey, since I talked about it, Fully Cooley Showcase, I don't really have any intention personally watching anything outside of the original Fully Cooley, but hey, it's there. But in 2024, you've got the Given movie, another Given movie, and I'm really excited to see how the story goes from there. A brand new music anime. I've read a little bit about it. I don't know the name of it because I can't read.
Whisper Me a Love Song.
Thank you. But it's a romance music anime, which is going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure. And Sound Your Volume Season 3, baby, let's go! So, there's no shortage of ideas and sounds to go around. You're not missing. And I recommend getting on the train now. But, as we have like 12 minutes, we got like 13 minutes left, 12 minutes. We got open floor for questions. Questions, comments, fire away, everybody. Yes.
Your plot summary of Backstory and the plot Mochi sound similar. Do you have any thoughts on that?
They're not. I feel like, I don't know, I feel like Kita's arc is somewhat similar, but she's not the focus of the show. They are very different. And I kind of grazed over a lot, but I try to give the general idea. Yes. Show by Rock. Actually, let me mention that real quick. There was a lot of shows that I did want to put on this panel. Like shows like Show by Rock, Those Snow White Notes, Love Life, Kirito Preachin', and stuff like that. But hopefully, I hope that what I talked about gives you a general consensus on what music anime is all about. Anyone else got anything? No. I went through that. I have tried learning about the show before watching it, and I thought it was just by the name. But it really isn't. It really is just kind of. It has a man in it, but it's like, I don't know. It's like one of those. This isn't a direct comparison, but you obviously wouldn't consider a show like My Hero to be a music anime because it's got half the season dedicated to being a band. You wouldn't really consider that more like the arc in Haru. But yeah, I kind of omitted when stuff got less and less about music. That's when I kind of used it on my personal list. Anyone else? Yes.
Regarding the mandatory local music, but it's primarily the English room. Have you ever tried like cheering in any event?
Oh my god, I can't do that. I don't have it in my heart to do something like that. Listen, the only time I cheered was to get like top 200,000 in the first Neo Fantasy Online event. That was purely by accident. I was grinding for something, but it was not cheering.
I cheered for I know Melody, right? I played 3 songs in a row. I got 300 in a Melody Live, and it was like pure torture. And it was such a torture to feel that so happy roll then. So we were like,
Why would you do that, Juicy?
I don't know. The title was pretty, and I wanted it to be on my yeah.
You know what? That's fair. Like, I'm tempted by the free banners in your profile, but other than that, I wouldn't have any motivation to do that. Honestly, I haven't played the mobile game in a hot minute.
In the Japanese servers, like, because there's so many more people on it. So, I have a Japanese account, but I don't really get one because it's so hard to get in.
Anyone else got anything they want to add?
Something else?
Sure, go for it. We got time.
Alright, what's your take on Synthpop gear?
I have not heard of this. What is it? Synfo?
Synthpop gear.
Synfo gear? So you've heard the name, but what's it all? What's it about?
It focuses on music. They basically, every time they, in the series, every time they attack or do combat, they're singing half the time. Time as well.
It's a magical girl, but they have to sing to be strong.
You know, it kind of feels like Review Starlight in a way, and also Hypnosis Mike. Hypnosis Mike is crap as a weapon. Tactile Destiny? That was like, I heard about that late, and I was reading about what the show was about, and I was like, God, I wanted to put that on the list, but I just did not have the time for it. But that is something I would actually play a lot soon.
Yeah.
Classicaloids? Heard of it, I don't know anything about it.
It's an anime where the like composers are basically they're going modern day now.
Have you heard of Senko Boys? Senko Boys is weird, and it's like a boy idol group, but that boy idol group is like busts of historical figures, and they don't have any lip flaps or anything. They're just like the actual busts. It's very yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Are you familiar with any VTubers? And if so, who's your favorite music-wise?
I don't have anything to say about like the only VTuber I know a few. Like I know like I like a lot of English VTubers. I know like Amelie, Sayu, and Joel, like that group. But I don't invest a lot in VTubers. And I've listened to a couple like VTuber stuff, specifically from Hololive, but I don't really have. Anyone else got anything? Alright, let's count this off because I don't think anyone else has anything. What you got? No, that's valid. I love Bang Cream. Oh yeah! Oh no! I can't go through all that again. Yeah, Shizuka gone, Maya's gone, Yuka, Sayo, Hina, Ringo. Oh man, a lot of them are good. Listen, I've been in the game since 2018. I was there when we found it. Oh, what was it? Talk about it in a second, but let me finish this thought. It is gonna like being in a time where we didn't really have anything to feast on. And now singing the same thing is great. I think it's gonna be going for a while, and it's just awesome. But I think it's definitely like a coming of age thing where it's like, dang, I was in 9th grade when I first started engaging with Bangry media, and now I'm a junior in college. Ah. Yep. Wait, did you have something? No? Okay. Yeah, you're talking about listeners?
Listeners, yes.
Yeah, what's it about?
So it's to give you the plot. Basically, it's they send in this dopey world, and then you can use it as audio jack. It's this cipher bot, and then they project that music as like a weapon against the like creature that they're trying to attack.
Oh, that's dope. That kind of sounds like hypnosis, but yeah,
They're
that's.
using the history of rock music and stuff. So they're using rock music as a basis for the music present.
Gotcha. No, I gotta check that out. Yep. Funny you mentioned that. I actually have a QR code for a playlist that'll show up in a sec, but if I had to recommend some of my favorite stuff from this, obviously the Boji soundtrack is something I adore. That album's great. Bibby soundtrack, the One Piece from Red soundtrack, Rancher Juice's discography, really K-On! And Bang Cream, but that's more nostalgia, and I've kind of been numbed out by it. But for a first time listener, that'd be great. Any of the songs, honestly, everything. Like, there's nothing that I've talked about that, as far as music wise, that I would not recommend in some capacity. At least listen to once. Everyone else good? All right, everybody. That concludes the Music Anime Variety Hour. I hope you enjoyed the convention. If you liked if you're interested in any of the music I talked about, scan this QR code for the Music Anime Variety Hour Spotify playlist. And if you kind of like what I do, also scan this QR code for my YouTube channel, Daily Star Surfer. I want to thank you guys so much for making this a fantastic experience, and I hope that you guys really get something out of it. Thank you all for coming.